All right, so today we're gonna make this impressive appetizer here. It's grapefruit guacamole. We made some homemade crackers in there, pomegranate syrup, pomegranates, and snow pea shoots to garnish on top. Now, this tool here is one of the tools I used in the kitchen all the time. And what I did was I layered it with guacamole and then a cracker and then more guacamole and then a cracker and then more guacamole on top. Garnished with the pomegranate syrup, put some pomegranate seeds around. The other important tool that I want to talk about is the microplane. So that's how I incorporated an intense amount of grapefruit flavor into our guacamole here. Now I know you're thinking, oh, guacamole, it gets made with limes. Well, I feel like everybody does that, and I try to be a little bit different sometimes. So anytime I can, I'm always up for using grapefruit. All right, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is quarter 2 avocados, peel the skins, and put them into a bowl. I've got a quarter of a small onion. Now I'm going to dice that up fairly small, as you see here. With my microplane, I'm grating about a quarter of the grapefruit, but you can use a box grater, zester side if you like, but do yourself a favor and get the microplane because these work great and you'll get a finer shred which becomes less noticeable in the food. Now I'm going to take the juice of a quarter of a grapefruit into my mixture, add a quarter teaspoon of salt, and a pinch of cracked black pepper. For the cilantro, you always want to rinse it in a bowl like you see here. In my experience, it definitely enhances the flavor and removes any dirt that may have been left on the leaves and the stems. Okay, so now I'm chopping up my cilantro. Remember not to over chop and mince the cilantro. I feel like it loses the flavor a bit the more you chop it. Notice the cut size consistency I have here. At this point, you can add some hot peppers or some hot sauce if you like the heat, but for this recipe, I'm gonna do without. Now I would have went old school and brought out my mortar and pestle together, but this way at the glass bowl, you can see inside. Mash up the ingredients until you get the consistency you like. For the pomegranate syrup, I'm gonna pour half a cup or 4 ounces and put it into a small sauce pot and add a quarter cup of granulated sugar. When making syrups like this or balsamic syrup, it's 2 parts liquid to 1 part sugar, and that usually does the trick. Whisk up the juice and sugar and bring it to a low simmer. Now this is going to take a while, so you got to be patient. There are several stages to this process, which I will show you. This is the first stage, after 10 minutes or so. The sauce is somewhat thick, but it's still too thin because you see how it runs on the plate. Even when it cools at this stage, it's not going to hold its shape very well, so keep simmering. Now this is another 5 minutes or so, and you'll see the sauce is a bit thicker and it's starting to splatter a bit on top. Now you're going to test your sauce again on a plate to see if it holds its shape. Now it shouldn't hold its shape 100%. It should run slightly, but you're going to cool this down, and as it cools down with the sugar, it'll get thicker. So you have to compensate and take it out slightly earlier than you think. So you see here it's holding its shape at about 85%, and once it cools, it'll be just right. I'm going to pour this liquid into a plastic squirt bottle so I can draw on my final plate presentation. But if you don't have one of these, you can certainly use a spoon to finish your dish. Now for the cracker. I've got 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, half teaspoon of sugar, half teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of cracked black pepper, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and a quarter cup of cold water. Take some fresh thyme. Pick the leaves off the stems and chop them fine, which will make about 1 tablespoon as you see here, and place them in your bowl of ingredients. Mix this up with a spoon first until it all comes together. Dust your cutting board with all-purpose flour and then knead your dough for about a minute or so until it comes together nicely. Now you can get out your rolling pin and spread out the dough on one side and then flip it over. Roll it again and continue this process until you can get it as thin as you can get it without breaking. Get out your mold and start cutting out as many pieces as you can from the dough. You can, of course, rework the excess dough and repeat this process for a few more crackers. Preheat your oven to 325 and bake the crackers until golden brown. It should take about 8 to 10 minutes. And then when it looks like this, they're ready. Let them rest for a good 30 minutes to get crispy before using. To prepare the pomegranate, cut it into quarters like you see here, and then pick the seeds out with a pair of gloves because they really can stain your hands. Now for the plate up. As you see, I've got my rectangle mold in the middle of the plate, and now just because I have a rectangle doesn't mean you can't use a circle cutter. This whole dish could be made with a circle cutter and mold as well, as that's all you have. First layer, align the guacamole and then put the cracker on top. And then the guacamole again, top with another cracker, and then guacamole on top to finish. Pull up your mold, and there you go. Drizzle your pomegranate reduction around the plate as you like. If you don't have a squirt bottle, you can certainly use a spoon and drizzle. Drop your pomegranate seeds around and some on top, and garnish with some pea shoots. If you don't have pea shoots, you can do cilantro sprigs or parsley. And there you have it, a more interesting way to display guacamole to your guests. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll have more valuable recipes for you next time.